Good day. Today we are going to talk about lighting. My name is Johan and I would love to talk to you about why lighting is so important in the church. Lighting is there for one purpose, and that is to draw attention towards God. If it doesn't draw attention towards God, then you should not be doing what you're doing. The main purpose of lighting is to bring visibility, to create an atmosphere and a mood. And that's your main focus as a lighting operator or a senior pastor who wants to invest into lighting. Lighting is there to enhance praise and worship. And if you pull the focus away from Jesus, then you are missing the mark. One friend once told me, praise and worship is like a pendulum. It starts at one point and it builds up and then it goes to the other side. So praise is pretty much a build-up to take the people of God into worship, that God can worship or minister to the people. And lighting plays a big role in this because you can use lighting to hype up people and to create an atmosphere for the people that they want to worship God. And this is why I want to spend this next few modules with you, just talking to you about lighting. So in this session, I want to talk to you about the goal of lighting. What is the goal? What do you want to achieve with lighting? The different types of lights you get. You have different lights to do certain things, and what different lights do you get and how do you apply them? We're going to talk about a lighting console. What lighting console do you need to buy? Lighting plot. What is a lighting plot? We'll talk about that. And then building your rig. You need to have a plan where you want to go and what do you want to do with your lighting plot and how to build your rig. So you need to know what lights you need, how do you plan for it, and do you buy everything at once? Can you build it up? We will look at all these things. One pastor once came to me and he asked me, will you ever have enough lights? And I asked him again, will you ever have enough tools? So you can play around with your rig and you will always use what you have in a lighting rig. So I'm really, really excited to spend this next few minutes with you and just go through the lighting and a lighting rig and explaining to you what lights there is and what lights you can use and how do you apply them. I'm not going too much into technique, but more about buying the right lights for your church. If we look at what do you want to achieve with your lighting rig, then you need to know a little bit about lighting, why it's so important to me to understand where lighting is coming from. So I just quickly want to read a scripture for you out of Ezekiel, that you would just understand where I'm coming from and what part did Lucifer play in this whole scenario, what I would like to explain to you. So let's read Ezekiel. Thus says the Lord God, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz, and diamond, the beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. We read here that Lucifer was created in perfection, and his perfection created him to have pride because he wanted to exalt himself above the angels, and he wanted to establish himself as the same as God, and that's when God kicked him out of heaven. But I don't want to focus on these things. I would like to focus on the stones, what was on him. He was covered with all of these precious stones. So I can just imagine what it would look like when Lucifer, covered with all of these stones, walked into the presence of God, because God was pure white light. And Lucifer reflected the glory of God. As soon as he entered into the glory of God, the reflection of God's glory was radiating off Lucifer. And this is what I want to focus on, because when you looked at Lucifer, you saw God's glory. And when I was a lighting designer in the church, I always focused on trying to imitate this and to try to reflect God's glory. So during praise and worship, you want to do that. Praise is more upbeat type of music. So you want to have a little bit of an upbeat type of lighting show, if I can say that. So you want to get the people more involved in the praise to hype them up a little bit. But as soon as you go into worship, I always believed it and I will always believe it. You do not touch worship. Worship belongs to God. So the only thing you should do in worship is to create an atmosphere for people to feel comfortable to worship God. So I know a lot of churches, they go praise, worship, praise, worship, praise, worship. And I do feel sometimes you need to really look at that because, like I said, it's like a pendulum. You know, your praise is building up for worship. So the praise, they worship unto God, and worship, you want God to minister more into the people's hearts and change their lives, because in worship, that's very, very intimate and you do not want to touch that. So when I move into worship, I always use like darker colors, like magentas or a dark blue, almost a UV blue, a gongo blue. Those are intimate colors. Then you can obviously bring a little bit more of other colors breaking through, but you want to have it like an intimate room where people can feel comfortable, when they can raise their hands before God, and if they want to weep before God, that they are not so conscious of what's happening around them. So you don't want to use like white light, because you are very conscious of what you're doing when you're using white light. So I would rather just tone the colors down, or the intensity of the lights, and make it more intimate, that people can connect with God. And this is where lighting plays a huge, huge role. And a person operating lighting needs to know these little techniques. That praise, you build the people up, you want to hype the people up to praise God. And worship, it's very intimate. So you want to create that intimate mood, that intimate atmosphere for people to minister unto God. This is very, very important. This is the goal, what you want to achieve with lighting, is to imitate the glory of God, that people can be close to Him, that people can walk into His presence, that people can connect with God, and that they can feel even comfortable when they want to go on the floor and kneel and just shake their heart before God, and just pour out their heart. That you want to create that atmosphere, and that people can feel comfortable just worshiping God. And this is what my goal is, and what I believe I want to carry over to you, that you can know how you can use lighting to help people to connect with God. If we look at different lights, there are pretty much 3 different types of light. You have a wash, a spot, and a beam. That's pretty much the whole spectrum. Yes, you have generic lights, you've got moving lights, but pretty much each light, that is their main purpose. They're going to wash, they're going to create a spot, or they're going to do beam work. So if we look at a wash light is pretty much there to create a wash over the stage, and that it has a wide spread, and the lighting is pretty much evenly spread, that you can have a nice even wash over the stage, and then you will add lights to create a full wash on the stage. And then you can do a wash over the audience, over your congregation, that you can create a nice atmosphere in the congregation as well. But that's pretty much a wash light, to bring color, or white light, or front light to the stage or the audience. And then you have your spots. A spot is a very narrow beam where you can isolate objects, you can isolate people, you can do movement, you can, but the spot is pretty much there to show people where they need to look, because they're spotting a person or object. Because everything on a stage, as soon as you take, for instance, let's say, for instance, this little plant here. If you take it and you put it on a stage, then it's not a plant anymore. It's a prop. And you want to light props. So then you want to show people whatever they need to see. So you can use spots for that, or you can do a general wash with a spot to use it as a key light. And then beams. Beams are there that people can we call it beam work. So you'll have like a hazer or a smoke machine just to create a mist in the air, and then you will have beam work, and that looks amazingly. It's amazing. It's beautiful. But also with a beam light and a spotlight, they can have gobos in, and with that you can create nice, amazing patterns on the stage. You can create nice atmospheric looks. Gobos are there. A gobo is pretty much. You can get glass gobos and you get metal gobos. And a gobo is pretty much a pattern inside of a light which will project on the floor or on the roof or wherever you shine it. And gobos are really, really effective if you know how to use them and how to incorporate it into your scene. But if we look at different lights, we have different makes. In South Africa, we use robe lights. We've got Claypackie, we've got Martin, there's Osram. There is other makes, but there's lots of different makes. There's lots of different makes and models of lights. But you have also the globe. Lights would work with globes and lights work with LED. But we're pretty much breaking away from the globes. The globes are using a lot more power than the LEDs. So LED is also nice because you have RGB mixing. And you can do a lot more with a LED light, and it's a lot more versatile, if I can say that. There's still space for your globes, for the lights that works with globes, but with LED, it helps you to minimize your power consumption, which really, really helps a lot. And if you go LED, you have a lot of versatility. And your colors, you can pretty much get any color temperature out of the LED. So with LEDs, you can use it for a wash light, you can use it for a front light. One light can be multifunctional. So it's really, really nice. On the gobo side, if you want to use LEDs, you can use it as beams and spots. You do get beams and spots out of them. So they're really, really powerful lights. So LED is definitely the way to go with what I would say. Due to the fact power and it's very, very versatile. So this is pretty much the three lights what you've got. It's your washes, your spots, and your beams. And how you use them, that is where the skill and the trick comes in. When we look at lighting consoles, it can be preference. There's not a lot of different lighting consoles on our market. The big one in our country is MA, Grand MA, that's a big one. And then you do get Martin, you get the Hog, and you get Avalite. But I think South Africa, pretty much a standard is the Grand MA, the MA3. When you want to buy a lighting console, you need to think about how big your rig is going to be. Because each light has something what we call parameters. So say for instance, a pan and a tilt. A pan is a parameter, a tilt is a parameter. If you say gobo 1, that's a parameter, gobo 2, that's a parameter, and all the effects, that will be parameters. So for every function the light has will be a parameter. And your lighting consoles have a certain amount of parameters. If you go, say for instance, you're on PC, there you will have about 2048 parameters. So let's take on PC quickly, the Grand MA3 on PC. You will download the software on a normal computer, and then you need a piece of hardware. Either it has to be a wing or a node. A node is, you get a 2-port node, a 4-port node, or 8-port node. So your nodes are there to give you more channels out. So it will allow you to plug in more cables. So a 2-port node will have 2 outputs. A 4-port node will have 4 outputs. And an 8-port node will have 8 outputs. But you need the hardware to license the software. If you don't have a piece of hardware, you can't run the software. Then you have also different consoles. You've got the compact, and then you've got the MA3 light, and then you have the full size. A full size, that desk is amazing. It's really, really amazing. But I do not believe churches will ever use a full size. The compact or light, I would definitely say that's a good option. The thing with on PC, It's very cost effective. That's the most cost effective way to go. Say, for instance, you buy on PC with a 2-port node to start off with. That will be the most, if I can say, the cheapest way to start. You do get other makes where you can just physically buy a dongle. Then you plug it in and it's a USB, and then it converts it to DMX, a 5-pin XLR. Then you have one universe, which is 512 channels. If you use the dongle, which will obviously be the cheapest, but later on you won't use it anymore. The on PC, you can buy the on PC with a wing, which is really, really nice, that you have the faders and the buttons. That definitely helps. And then if you need to expand more, you can buy something what we call an NPU, which gives you also 4,096 more channels. So if you like on PC and it works for you, then go with that. But it's always nicer and quicker to program if you have a lighting console. The consoles are always quicker to program, and you get your way a lot quicker around it than using a mouse. But lighting consoles are very, very important, because that is the brain of your whole rig. And you need to make sure you have a proper lighting desk. And support is always very, very important. So wherever you buy, just make sure they do support you, because after sales are always very, very important. So know your supplier, and the after sales support is very, very important. But yeah, lighting desks, you can do so much with lighting desks, even if you eventually will talk about media servers, maybe an AV, but I always believe a media server needs to be run with a lighting desk, because it gives you so much versatility. A lighting desk is phenomenal to have, and it's very quick when you know your way around it. The person who's going to operate it needs to spend time on the lighting desk, and he needs to learn the lighting desks. But we'll talk about that more in the staff. But like I say, MA, great piece of kit. I've worked on the Hogs, I've worked on the Everlights. Brilliant desks. You just need to know which one you prefer for your church. Okay, let's talk about lighting plots. So what is a lighting plot? A lighting plot is planning your rig. So you will have a CAD drawing a CAD drawing of your building. And then you will see where all the rigging points are, your stage, and then you will start plotting your rig. You will put in a front truss, a back truss. You need trussing for your house lights to do a even wash over your whole congregation. You might want to have some side trusses. You might want to have fingers, or with trussing you can be so creative, and your layout of your truss will determine what your rig is going to look like. So this is very, very important. You need to, the more rigging points you have in your venue, the better, because the more versatile your rig can be. And that's what you want. You want to have different angles. And your beamwork, it just does miracles for beamwork when you have different angles and different options. Because you want to have different options, and you want to have different looks, and you want to be able to change between your looks very, very quickly. And if you have a good rig, then you have versatility on your side. And this is where you're going to start finding out what lights do you need, what lights do you want, and how you're going to plot them. And this all happens when you do your lighting plot, because you are planning what you're going to do in your church. And this is why it doesn't need to be all of it at once, but do the lighting plot what you want, and then you can build towards that. You don't have to buy everything at once. You can work towards it, and you can always just buy an add-on. Like I said earlier on, when will you have enough lights? The day when you have enough tools. So you can always expand on lights. You can always use a light in a different way. And this is the nice thing about lighting. You need to know how to use them and what they are used for and what they can do. And the only way you can do that is to play with your lighting rig. The more you play with your lighting rig, the more you will know how to do things with your lights. And this is also where you need to know how your console works, because your console needs to tell the light what to do and how to do it. But one thing with lights, you need with a light, you always need to tell a light what to do and what not to do. This is also a tricky part of lighting. So if I say you need to tell a light what to do and what not to do, you have to tell the light you need to go on, okay, and you need to go off. So it's pretty much like a 2-year-old, which you need to keep on telling, do this, don't do this, don't do this, do this, do this. And that's how lighting works. Every time you need to explain to the light, okay, I want you to have this gobo on. Then that gobo will go on. On the next scene, you have to tell them, I want you to take this gobo out. I don't want you to use that gobo. So you have to tell them constantly what to do and what not to do. And this is how you're going to start plotting your venue. And you start with your front truss, back truss, audience. That's pretty much your basic ones, what you definitely do need in your plot. So when you start planning your rig, the most important lights, what you do need is front light. Front light is a truss in front of your stage where you are going to hang pretty much, I would say, your washes first, just to give you a general wash over your stage, that you can at least bring light in, that everybody can see the past of the band, which is very, very important. The nice thing is with moving heads, if you have a mover, LED mover, so you don't have to climb up every time and refocus the light. So with a mover, you can put it where you want to. And now because it's an LED, you can go RGB, so you can make it white, you can make it blue, pink, purple, you can make it any color what you want. So you can wash the stage with any color what you want. And when it needs to be white, you can do white. That's a nice thing about the LEDs. So your front light obviously will be your most important light, your front light and your key light. It would be nice to have a few spots just to isolate areas for front light. Then in your house light, you want a nice wash. You want a wash light. And a light what can do red, green, blue, RGB light or RGBW. A nice one, what we usually use is a nitro. We call it it's a nitro light, and it's RGBW. It's got a very wide spread and extremely bright. So the nice thing about this, you don't have to always to put it on its brightness, but at its brightest. So if you have RGB, you can create the mood in the room the way you want to. You have 100% control over the mood, because you can make it the whole room like a lilac, you can make it cyan, you can make it magenta, any color what you want. You can change the whole room. You can change the atmosphere to what you need it to be, which is really, really nice. Your back truss. Why back truss is very, very important. If you have cameras in your venue and you want to do cameras, you do need backlight, because that creates a little bit more depth. And to have also a little bit of beams from the top, that's really, really great. That also creates a lot of depth, and beam work works really, really well like that. You can have beam work from the floor up as well, which we do actually pretty often. That we just place lights on the floor, and you have some beam work going to shooting up into the roof. Hazer, maybe invest in a hazer, or a smoke machine is a little bit too harsh. A hazer is a mist. It creates like a mist in your church, which is really, really nice. And it just catches all the lighting beams as soon as you use beams. Your spots, you can use the spots as well. Spots from the top, spots from the bottom. And so this way you can build your rig to what you need. But I definitely will say start with your front truss, that you have your general wash on your stage, and then your house lights. You need to do house lights, that you have 100% control over your house lights, back truss, and then you can start with more effect lights. Well, that's the way I would go about planning my rig. With lighting, you can set up the lighting, and you do need to know the technical side of lighting, but it's all about the operator. He needs to be creative. His lighting is limited to the person who's going to operate the rig. So you need to plan, you need to know what you need to know how you want to place them. The plot is very important, the lighting is very important, the type of lighting what you use is very, very important. You would like to try to keep the brightness of the lights pretty much in the same range, which will definitely help. I really do hope that if this helped you a little bit, just to distinguish what lighting is, why do we use lighting in the church? Because I really feel this is very important for me. You can have all types of lighting, and you can just put up a show, but then you've missed it, because I really feel lighting is there to recreate the presence of God and create an atmosphere for people that they can worship God. This is why this is very important to me, that you need to get this right. The person who operates needs to get this, that he wants to recreate the glory of God and make it for people pleasant, that they can worship God. And lighting does play a big role in the church. And when you have your productions, it can take your production to the next level, because lighting chooses what to show to who they want to show it. So if you want to show something in a certain corner, you will light that piece, and that's what people are going to see. So you draw the attention. You are drawing the attention of the people to where you want them to look. And this is the importance of lighting. You have so much control over the venue, and you want to use the lighting to glorify God and use it to the best of its ability. But I really do hope that this helped. And it's very brief. I can't go into technique and all those things. It's just going to be too long. But if you have any questions, please leave me a comment, like, share. And you can email me again at johan@blueye.co.za. I will be more than happy to answer questions. And who knows where God wants to take your church. And you don't have to buy everything at once. You can buy 2 lights this month, and then 2 lights in the next month. And before you know it, you got a proper rig. So don't think of you have to buy 150 lights at once, because you don't. You can build up your rig as you carry on. This is why I want to say is start building it up as soon as possible, that you can the day when you move to your bigger facility, or whenever you want to expand your rig, then at least you've got half of your kit already bought. So think of the future. Always think of the future when you buy. So I really thank you for your time, and God bless, and see you next time.